So this week, Ford sent me the 2024 Maverick Hybrid Lariat to test and review for you guys. And believe it or not, this is the first time I've been behind the wheel of the Maverick since its introduction several years ago. And for 2024, it remains mostly a carryover. However, Ford did make additional premium packages on both the XLT as well as the Lariat, now standard equipment. So you basically get a fully loaded Maverick in the Lariat trim level for one MSRP. Now there are going to be a few additional accessories as well as the black appearance package with which this particular truck does have for an additional charge, but basically a Lariat now comes fully loaded for 2024. Now, after my week with this truck, I now understand why people are drawn to it, because it is a very unique hybrid driving experience. Certainly not a ton of power behind the wheel, but the MPG or fuel efficiency is quite crazy for a vehicle in this segment. And of course, having a small 4.5-foot bed on the back and all of the features that it has to offer, it certainly makes it for a diverse, versatile experience and something that you can drive on a daily basis and have a ton of utility with. So for that reason alone, I now understand why the Maverick has been so popular. And of course, that doesn't take into account the price point, which has gone up from its introduction, but still remains fairly affordable. But even with all that being said, over my last week with this vehicle, I have discovered several things I like and dislike. So without further ado, let's not waste more time. Take a look at everything I like and dislike here with the 2024 Ford Maverick Hybrid Lariat. Now, of course, with the hood up, you probably have guessed my first like with the Maverick Hybrid, and that is going to be the fuel economy. Now, the Maverick Hybrid is powered by a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated four-cylinder with a small, I believe about 90 kilowatt electric motor, which produces a fair amount of combined horsepower and torque. Although this is no performance machine, it's certainly geared toward fuel efficiency, and this is paired to a CVT transmission only in front-wheel drive. You cannot get all-wheel drive with the hybrid model in specific. Now, in my real-world driving with this truck over the last about 6 days or so, I've been averaging about 41 to 42 mpg. Now, I believe this is actually the best case scenario for this truck, given the truck has the best opportunity or most opportunity to drive in its EV only mode using the small electric motor and battery pack. But anyways, over 40 mpg is just fantastic for a vehicle like this. And I think it is very close to the EPA figures as well, if I'm not mistaken. So to see, over 40 mpg in rear-wheel driving is fantastic. And I really do like how the Maverick also breaks out all electric mileage versus the combined total distance traveled. So you can actually see how many miles you've driven, not only on your one trip from start to finish, but also over, your regular trip information as well. So if you want to see exactly how far you can drive on all electric, the truck will break that information down for you, which is great. So overall, fuel efficiency and that aspect is fantastic here with the Maverick Hybrid. Now, my second like here with the Maverick Lariat has to do with its power rear sliding window. This is actually a feature I really enjoy using on most full-size trucks that have this available from the factory, and I'm glad that Ford has implemented it here in not only their Ranger lineup, but also the smallest Maverick as well, as I've used it pretty much every single day I've had the truck, and it's not been raining in some sort of fashion. This is a great tool to have. It allows for air to escape the cabin if you have, say, the front windows down, for example. It reduces buffering. There just really is not any drawbacks to having this feature. Now, I know a lot of other trucks out there have a manual rear sliding window, but sometimes that is going to be very hard to use, as you have to either reach way back behind the driver's seat or have to simply get into the rear seat just to open the sliding rear window, where it's done at a push of a button here with the Maverick. So absolutely love this feature and use it on a daily basis. Now, my third like has to do with the seating comfort and the seating materials here in the Lariat trim level. Now, I don't recall if this is actually a leather or a leatherette type material, but regardless, these seats are going to be extremely comfortable, and I found them very pleasurable to use on a daily basis. Now, when I first got in the Maverick, I thought the seats were a kind of an odd shape, given they had really a lack of bolstering on the backrest portion and really didn't hold you in any sort of manner. But as time went on, I totally understood why Ford designed the seats they did, because if you're wearing heavy clothing, a large jacket, anything like that, I really doubt you'll have any sort of issues here in the front seats with this vehicle, given the bolsters are fairly loose and allow for additional room. Now, the seats themselves on the bottom are extremely plush. There's a ton of give to them, and with this truck having just over 5,000 miles on the odometer, I really don't see any major wear and tear on them at all. And in fact, they actually look in very, very good condition. So I think that's a positive so far, is that the wear is extremely minimal. The comfort is very good. and certainly one of the highlights, even though they aren't a sporty seat by any means. They're certainly very, very comfortable to use on a daily basis. Now, staying on the interior, my fourth like with the Maverick is going to be the interior design and the overall roominess you have inside of the cabin. Now, a couple of comments that I've had from people that have seen this truck in person was that it's overly rugged, and why are there visible bolts on the doors, and why'd they use this material on the dash? Well, I think a lot of it has to do with Ford's history in making regular and mid-size pickup trucks. They've simply implemented it here on the interior of the Maverick. Sure, the armrest, the seats, the steering wheel, the armrest in the center console are going to be very soft and plush and luxurious here in this particular vehicle. But the dashboard, the tops of the door panels, the storage in the doors are all going to be made of a hard plastic, which generally is going to be very easy to take care of, easy to clean, and hold up decently well over time. So I think that is why Ford decided to use the materials throughout the cabin that they did. Now, is it visually appealing to some people? Yes. Is it visually appealing to other people? No. But as a whole, I think it's a very functional interior. I think it's very well put together for the price point that this vehicle starts at, in the low to mid $20,000 range, depending on how you equip it and which engine option you do choose. But I had no complaints with the overall ergonomics and interior space. You have a ton of space between the two front seats, with the center console being so low. Tons of storage pockets and cubbies next to the infotainment screen. Of course, the door panels with the large bottle storage. And yeah, I think there's just a ton of functionality and really good amount of space in a vehicle, more on the compact side of things. Now, my fifth like here with the Maverick has to do with the Bang & Olufsen premium audio system that comes standard on the Lariat. I think it is actually a very good premium system, again, for a vehicle in the sub $40,000 price range. Now, this vehicle does have the normal amount of speakers. It has, the two door speakers, tweeters on the dash, a center channel up here, as well as an integrated subwoofer beneath the bench seat that does flip up in the back. So you can visually see that subwoofer back there if you do release the seat back. But anyways, the sound system sounds great, for a vehicle $37,000 to $38,000, depending on how you equip it. It has a good amount of bass with that integrated subwoofer in a fairly small cabin space. And I think it has a good amount of amperage or power driving the actual speakers themselves. Now, my next like here with the Maverick has to do with the onboard power. Now, there's specifically two aspects I want to touch on. That is the two 120 volt outlets, one located in the bed, one in the second row seats, as well as the flex bed 12 volt DC power here on the left and right hand side for additional accessories you may want to wire yourself. So it is a little bit unfortunate that the 120 volt outlets are rated at a 400 watt combined output. That's still very usable, say if you need to charge electric batteries for power tools or power other smaller appliances. Generally 400 watts can do that, but that's no better than most gasoline pickup trucks out there, given this vehicle does have a high voltage battery. But I think the unique aspect is the flex bed, the integrated 12 volt pre-wiring that you can pop off these little tabs here on either the left or right hand side, wire up your additional small 12 volt accessories, and power them directly via the wires that are pre-run inside the bed to those two locations. I think that is a very unique aspect. I think it's probably something that a lot of other people out there have used for those smaller power draw accessories, and I could certainly see using that over time for additional LED bed lighting, or anything like that, even though overall the bed lighting is very good from the factory. So that's going to do it here for my list of likes with the Ford Maverick. Now let's move into my list of dislikes, or things that I didn't like quite so much that hopefully Ford can improve in either a refresh or an all-new generation in the future. Now, my first dislike here with the Maverick has to do with the push-button start location. Now, the Lariat may be the only trim level that still comes with a push-button start, but as a whole, I think it is fairly hard to reach and located in a somewhat awkward location here on the center console. Now, the push-button start's located all the way down here next to the wireless charging pad, which is somewhat ergonomic, one would think, because it's kind of where you normally would reach for inside of, say, another pickup truck, such as the GM full-size trucks have their push-button start located down here. And I think as a whole, this is located just slightly lower and slightly harder to reach than those trucks. So again, this might be a small complaint to most people out there, but getting inside the vehicle on a day-to-day basis, I think I would much rather have it located somewhere in this vicinity, just a little bit higher up off of the dashboard, rather than down there near the fairly distant wireless charging pad. But as a whole, that's just something I noticed daily that wasn't, the best experience to use, but certainly something that should be able to be fixed fairly easily. Now, sticking in the same vicinity, my second dislike here with the Maverick has to do with the electronic dial shifter. Now, I understand many manufacturers are moving to an electric shift-by-wire system, and this is no different. I know Ford has used a dial shift knob in some of their other vehicles over the last 2, 3, 4 years or so, and overall, I think it works decently well. It's not, a major issue, once again, much like that of the push-button start location, but I think this is a little bit more of a functionality concern and a type of vehicle, if you will. Generally, pickup trucks, I prefer a traditional, lever for the shifter, which is generally a mechanical type. But here inside this vehicle, Ford decided to remove that, save some space, and go with an electronic rotary dial, which is not the end of the world. But, if you're trying to exit the vehicle quickly, turn it off and just, quickly rotate it all the way to the left into park. Sometimes the vehicle didn't really do exactly what I was wanting, or I opened the door a little bit too quickly before it actually registered to go into park. And overall, I just think, in a pickup truck, generally a physical shifter feels a little bit more appropriate and matches the overall character. But again, fairly minor complaint, personal preference, don't like the rotary dial. Now, my third dislike here on the inside of the Maverick has to do with the interior rear view mirror size. Now, believe it or not, this mirror is barely large enough to actually view the entire rear window in terms of its vertical height. So I found myself wanting the mirror to be just a little bit larger so I could actually view the entire window. And as you can see, moving the camera around here, it just barely fits the exact glass width. And I wouldn't mind having just a slightly larger vertical rearview mirror to see out of the back of this pickup truck. Given visibility is not ideal as it is, not terrible, but kind of traditional pickup truck things. But I think there's plenty of room here for Ford to implement a slightly larger rearview mirror, or even a digital type would be fantastic to see as well. Now, my next dislike with the Maverick has to do with the door grab handles on all 4 doors. Now, I get this is a compromised design intentionally due to the additional bottle storage that Ford implemented on all 4 doors. But personally, I would have much preferred if the grab handle would have continued all the way into the padded armrest right here, not left this open void here, because when I went to grab the door on most days, I was grabbing either air by whiffing or grabbing the very edge of the rounded nub here, and it was just a little bit uncomfortable to use. So if you own a Maverick or have driven a Maverick, let me know your thoughts on this down in the comment section below. Would you have preferred a full-length grab handle, or do you not mind this open design that they've implemented for a little bit of additional bottle storage? Now, my fifth dislike has to do with the infotainment system, specifically the fact that there's no wireless Android Auto or Apple CarPlay here, even for the 2024 model year. Now, in addition to this, as you can see right here, I've already turned the vehicle on for the last, 10 to 15 seconds, and it is still working on booting up. So partially the fact that the infotainment is a little bit laggy, a little bit on the slow side, but also the fact that there is no wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay is really unfortunate for a vehicle in the 2024 model year. So really wish they'd implement their latest version of Sync. Also with a slightly larger screen would be very nice, but hopefully we will see these enhancements for the refresh of this vehicle, which I do believe is occurring for the 2025 Maverick. So a little bit unfortunate there. It is their older generation Sync, a little bit on the smaller side, and no wireless Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. Now, my sixth dislike with the Maverick has to do with the rear window and the fact that there is actually no rear window defrost. Now, I don't know if this was intentional or kind of just an oversight, or maybe it's not necessary given that snow or ice buildup generally doesn't occur here in wintertime, but there is no defrost here for the rear window, which seems a little bit odd given that the competitor to this vehicle, the Hyundai Santa Cruz, does offer that. Most full and mid-size trucks do offer that, and I just find it hard to believe that there wouldn't be an issue with snow and ice buildup here on this particular truck in the winter time. So no rear window defrost is definitely a negative, and again, surely they could fix it. Maybe it has something to do with the power sliding rear window. Not exactly sure, but let me know down in the comment section below if you've had issues with snow or ice buildup on your Maverick in the colder climates. And finally, my last dislike with the Maverick has to do with the tailgate design and the fact that there is no damped tailgate available. Now, this is, once again, is a little bit puzzling. I get it as a very light, easy to use tailgate, Most people might not mind that it doesn't have a damped functionality, but to me, again, the competitor to this vehicle, the Hyundai Santa Cruz, offers a damped tailgate as standard, and the fact that there is simply not one here on the Ford Maverick just screams that it's maybe a little bit on the cheaper or inexpensive side of things, which once again it is, but this is a fully loaded Lariat trim level for over $37,000. I think I would expect a damped tailgate here on this particular pickup truck. But hey, let me know down in the comment section below if you don't mind having an undamped one, even on the highest, most fully loaded trim level. But yeah, outside of that, I really don't have any major complaints. The tailgate still has a lot of functionality. Of course, has your bottle opener. You can adjust these cable ties to a different set point, and of course, there are going to be places to store your cups and stuff like that. So, still a very functional tailgate, easy to use. Just wish it had a dampener on it to slow the fall. So I think that's going to do it here for all my likes and dislikes with the 2024 Ford Maverick Hybrid Lariat. Now, of course, there's going to be a ton more to like about this truck. I now understand why many people have been drawn to it, specifically hybrid for the fuel economy, but also the overall design of this truck with about 4.5 foot of bed space, which of course gives you a ton of open storage and unlimited height potential. I did, haul a few small items inside of the bed over the last week, which generally could be loaded inside of a mid-size or larger 3-row SUV. With relative ease, but of course this one being an open bed and very low to the ground, you could simply drop them in from the side, reach over the side of the bed rail, and make loading and unloading extremely simple. So I totally understand why this is a do-it-all vehicle for several people out there that are looking at a compact sedan or hatchback and may want to go to this body style in general. And that's just why the compact pickup truck space in general is fairly popular over that of maybe a sedan or a smaller hatchback. But if you guys want to add to anything, do you agree or disagree with all my likes and dislikes, leave any of that information down in the comment section below. It's going to be extremely helpful for those in the market for a Ford Maverick or just a compact pickup truck in general. And let me know what you think of the Lariat trim level in specific. Do you think it is worth about the $37,000 to $38,000 price point as seen equipped in this video, or is there a different trim level and package configuration you think is a little better bang for the buck? I want to give a huge thanks to Ford for sending this vehicle out for me to test and review for you guys. Really do appreciate it, and glad I finally got the opportunity to get behind the wheel of the Ford Maverick, specifically in the hybrid, since that is the one that is still relatively hard to get from my understanding, given demand for this vehicle is still high. But anyways, let me know all your thoughts and comments down in the comment section below. As always, I appreciate the continued support. Consider becoming a channel membership if you want to support us a little bit further. And as always, hope to see you guys in the next one.